In a cramped, cluttered apartment where the walls whispered of old memories, Elias and Clara shared a single glowing dream. They lived simply, their hearts anchored by the hope of one day owning a home.
It began with a single coin dropped into a heavy ceramic jar. That clink was the first note in a long symphony of sacrifice, a promise they made to their future selves under the moonlight.
Elias took extra shifts at the local workshop, his hands stained with the dust of honest labor. Every hour of overtime was a brick in the walls of the house they hadn't yet built.
Clara spent her evenings under the soft glow of a desk lamp, mending clothes for the neighborhood. Her needle moved with a rhythm born of love, stitching together the fabric of their shared destiny.
The seasons bled into one another as the years rolled by. Winters were cold and summers were long, but their resolve remained as steady as the ticking of the old clock on their mantel. They skipped the small luxuries that others took for granted. A walk in the park replaced expensive dinners, and the joy of each other's company was the only feast they truly required to survive. By the third year, the jar was full, and they began hidden stacks of bills beneath the floorboards. Each cent was a testament to their endurance and the strength of their quiet, unwavering bond. They would often walk to the edge of town, looking at the little cottage with the blue door. They didn't own it yet, but in their minds they were already planting flowers in the garden. 5 years of sweat, silence, and saving finally culminated in a heavy bag of currency. It was the weight of their youth and their toil, ready to be transformed into a foundation of stone. The day they signed the papers, the sun seemed to shine just for them. They handed over their life savings with trembling hands, overwhelmed by the realization that they were finally, truly home. The first night was spent on a mattress on the floor, surrounded by half-packed boxes. They shared a simple meal by candlelight, the flickering flames dancing against the walls of their very own kingdom.
Week by week, the house transformed into a home. They painted the walls a soft cream and hung photographs of their journey together, marking the milestones of 5 years of hard work and sacrifice.
Mornings were their favorite time. The sun would peek through the kitchen window, illuminating the steam rising from their mugs as they planned a future that finally felt secure and beautifully permanent.
Neighbors stopped by with baskets of fresh bread and warm smiles. For the first time, they felt part of a community, a thread woven into the tapestry of a quiet, sun-drenched neighborhood.
Autumn arrived, dusting the yard in gold and amber. They planted a sapling in the garden, a symbol of their growing roots and the life they intended to build for many years to come. Then came the first letter, tucked quietly among the bills. It mentioned a discrepancy in the property's title, a small detail that seemed like a minor clerical error at the very first glance. They didn't worry much at first, assuming it was a simple mistake. They continued their evenings by the fireplace, though a faint shadow of uncertainty began to linger at the edge of their joy. A second letter arrived, followed by a phone call that turned their world cold. A legal claim had been filed against the property, dating back to a hidden debt from the previous owner. The air in the lawyer's office was heavy with the scent of old paper and stale coffee. They sat across from a man who spoke in cold, clinical terms about liens and foreclosures. The truth was a physical blow. Their title insurance was insufficient, and the legal knot was too tight to unravel. Everything they had saved for 5 years was suddenly hanging by a single thread. The legal documents felt heavy, like lead weights in their trembling hands. Clara and Leo sat in silence, the flickering glow of a single lamp casting long, uncertain shadows across the room they once loved. They remembered the glass jar on the mantel, once overflowing with silver coins and folded bills. Every cent represented a missed dinner out, a coat not bought, or a vacation they never dared to take. Seeking a miracle, they visited an old attorney whose office smelled of aged parchment and cedar. The towering bookshelves seemed to lean in, listening to the heartbreaking story of their 5 years' struggle for a home. The lawyer adjusted his spectacles, his face etched with a kindness that offered no comfort. He spoke of loopholes and ancient claims that favored the bank, slowly extinguishing the last embers of their hope. Outside, the garden they had spent months weeding was beginning to bloom. The vibrant petals felt like a cruel joke, a beauty they had nurtured, but would likely never see reach its full summer maturity. With a hard heart, Clara reached for the very first cardboard box. Taping the bottom felt like sealing a coffin on their dreams as they began the agonizing process of deciding what was worth keeping. That night, the moon hung low and golden, illuminating the empty spaces of the house they were losing. They lay awake, listening to the settling floorboards, memorizing every unique creak of the wooden place. A sharp knock at the door brought a man in a professional suit. He wasn't a villain, just a messenger of a cold system, delivering the final notice that their time here was officially over. Leo sat on the front porch steps, his shoulders slumped under the weight of failure. He looked at his calloused hands, the hands that had painted every wall and fixed every single broken roof shingle. Clara sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. They had lost the house, but as they sat in the fading sunlight, they realized the 5 years weren't wasted. They still had each other. The next morning arrived with a quiet finality. Clara and her husband began the heavy task of packing their lives into cardboard boxes, realizing how little their material possessions mattered compared to their shared resilience. Each item wrapped in paper held a memory of a dream they once nurtured. They moved slowly, acknowledging the weight of every lost corner of the house while keeping their movements tender and supportive. The house felt larger now that it was empty, the echoes of their 5-year journey bouncing off the bare walls. It was a hollow shell, stripped of the warmth they had once provided. Outside, the air was cool and crisp as they carried the final boxes to their weathered car. The neighborhood remained unchanged, oblivious to the quiet tragedy unfolding at the end of the driveway. A man in a sharp suit waited by the gate, a cold reminder of the bank's firm grip. Clara reached for her husband's hand as they approached him to finalize the surrender of their home.
The exchange of keys was brief and clinical. As the metal left her palm, Clara felt a strange sense of liberation mixed with her grief. The physical burden was gone, leaving only their love.
They took one last look at the porch where they had planned to grow old. The sun dipped lower, casting long golden shadows across the lawn they had mowed with such pride.
The drive to their new, tiny apartment was silent. They watched the familiar streets fade away, replaced by the unknown landscape of a life they hadn't anticipated, but were now forced to accept.
Their new home was small, with peeling wallpaper and narrow windows, yet as they set down their first box, it felt like a sanctuary. It was a place where they could begin again.
Exhausted, they sat on the floor amidst a clutter of their remaining things. They shared a simple piece of bread, finding comfort in the silence and the strength of their unbroken bond.
As the first light of dawn filtered through the bare windows, the couple awoke. The cold floor was a harsh reminder that this would be their final morning under the roof they had loved.
They walked through the empty rooms one last time, their footsteps echoing against the bare walls. Each corner held a ghost of a dream, a memory of the 5 long years of sacrifice and hope.
A sharp knock at the door broke the heavy silence. A man in a dark suit stood on the threshold, his cold expression contrasting with the warmth they had once built within these beautiful walls.
With a heavy heart, Clara placed the keys into the stranger's palm. The metallic jingle felt like a final sentence, the sound of 5 years of hard work being handed over in a single, painful second.
They stepped across the threshold for the last time. The heavy wooden door clicked shut, sealing away their dreams. Outside, the air was crisp, and the world seemed strangely indifferent to their profound, silent loss. From the sidewalk, they paused to look back. The house stood tall and silent, its windows like empty eyes. It was no longer a home. It was just a building they had once known and loved.
Carrying their meager belongings in 2 small bags, they began the long walk toward the unknown. The weight of their packs was nothing compared to the heavy, invisible burden of their broken hearts and dreams.
They found temporary shelter in a cramped, dusty attic room provided by a distant relative. The ceiling was low and slanted, but for tonight it would provide a necessary roof over their weary, exhausted heads. As night descended, they sat on a small, worn mattress. The silence here was different. It wasn't the silence of peace, but the quiet of uncertainty as they faced a future without a clear map. Elias took Clara's hand, his thumb tracing circles over her knuckles. They didn't need words to promise each other that they would rebuild. This loss was deep, but their love remained an unshakable foundation. They began sorting through the salvaged items, choosing what to carry forward into their new, smaller life. Each object held a memory, but they focused on the future instead of mourning what was gone. The new apartment was cramped and the floors creaked, but it was a roof over their heads. They spent the first evening sitting on the floor, surrounded by boxes and flickering candlelight. Financial records spread across a small wooden table. The numbers were daunting, yet Elias and Clara worked side by side, calculating their path back to stability, with quiet, focused determination and shared resolve. Elias found work at a local carpenter's workshop, his hands soon covered in sawdust and cedar scent. He channeled his grief into the wood, crafting sturdy furniture for others while dreaming of home. Clara spent her days at a neighborhood nursery, tending to saplings and vibrant blossoms. Surrounding herself with growth helped heal her spirit, reminding her that even the smallest seed can weather the storm. Evening brought them back together in their modest kitchen. They shared a simple stew, the steam rising between them like a peaceful fog. The humble meal tasted better because they were together. On rainy afternoons, they found solace in the library's quiet corners. Surrounded by stories of resilience, they realized their own journey was just another chapter in a much larger, beautiful tale of endurance. Clara found an old, slightly charred photograph of their previous house tucked inside a book. Instead of tears, she felt a surge of gratitude for the years they had spent building that dream. Elias placed a glass jar on the windowsill, dropping in their first saved coin. It was a small, singular clink, but it echoed with the weight of 5 more years of hope beginning today. Walking through the golden autumn park, they watched the leaves fall, knowing that nature always prepares for a new spring. They walked hand in hand, their hearts light despite the heavy road ahead. They moved into a modest apartment on the edge of town, where the walls were thin but the rent was manageable. It was a humble sanctuary, offering the quiet stability they desperately needed now. Unpacking the first box, they rediscovered their favorite ceramic mugs, chipped but familiar. These small relics of their past life brought a sudden, unexpected warmth to the empty kitchen, bridging the old and new. They reclaimed a sunlit corner for a small wooden desk, a place to plan and dream once more. The room was small, yet it felt expansive with the promise of a future no longer burdened. Dinner was a simple affair of bread and soup served on a wooden crate. Without the grand dining room, their laughter felt louder and more intimate, filling the small space with genuine, healing joy. From their narrow window, they watched the city lights flicker like distant stars. The world felt vast and full of possibilities again, a stark contrast to the suffocating walls of their previous financial struggle. A soft knock at the door introduced a neighbor bearing a warm plate of cookies. This small gesture of community reminded them that home is found in the kindness of others, not just property. Sitting together on the floor amidst half-empty boxes, they realized they had everything they truly needed. The loss of the house had stripped away the excess, leaving only the strength of their shared love.
They placed a single coin into a glass jar on the shelf, the start of a new journey. This time, their savings represented more than just a building. They represented resilience and newfound wisdom. Walking to a nearby community garden, they felt the cool soil between their fingers. Being close to the earth reminded them that growth takes time and that every season of life has its purpose. On their new windowsill, they planted a single seed in a terracotta pot. As the sun warmed the earth, they felt a quiet hope take root, ready to grow alongside their new, simpler life.
The tiny green sprout pushes through the soil, catching the morning light. They watch it daily, seeing their own resilience reflected in the fragile yet determined leaf reaching toward the golden, warming sun. A neighbor stops by with a warm loaf of bread, her face kind and welcoming. The small kitchen fills with the scent of yeast and the gentle sound of shared stories and honest laughter. Hanging white linens on a line between two trees, they watch the fabric dance in the breeze. The simple act of housekeeping feels like a meditative ritual, grounding them deeply in the present moment. Sitting by the small fireplace, they open a worn leather-bound album. The memories no longer feel like heavy weights. Instead, they are soft echoes of a journey that led them to this quiet peace. Rain taps rhythmically against the glass as they share a single pot of tea. The small room feels expansive with love, proving that happiness doesn't require vast square footage or expensive modern furniture. Together, they dig into the soft earth of a community garden plot. Their hands are stained with dirt, but their hearts are light, planting seeds that will soon feed their new, kind-hearted neighborhood. As the sun dips below the horizon, they sit on a wooden bench, watching the sky turn to shades of apricot and lavender. The world feels quiet, ancient, and remarkably beautiful to them. Friends gather around their modest table for a potluck dinner. The clink of mismatched silverware and the glow of candlelight create a symphony of belonging that money could never have purchased for them. Walking through a local park, they realized that losing the house didn't mean losing their home. Their home was always within each other, a portable sanctuary built on shared history and deep trust. As night falls, they tuck themselves into a cozy bed with soft patched quilts. The house is small and silent, wrapped in a blanket of stars, offering the deepest rest they've known. Morning light filters through a small window, casting a golden glow over the wooden floor. They wake slowly, no longer burdened by the weight of loss, but grateful for the simple peace of their cottage. In the tiny kitchen, the steam from a whistling kettle rises into the morning air. They share a simple breakfast of bread and honey, the room filled with the quiet, comforting presence of one another. Outside, they kneel together in the soft earth, planting seeds for a garden that will soon bloom. Every sprout is a promise of a new beginning, nurtured by hands that truly understand the value of growth. They open a dusty trunk, revealing a few mementos saved from their previous life. They touch the objects with reverence, acknowledging the past, without letting it overshadow the gentle peace of their current humble reality. They wander down a winding path, lined with ancient oaks, their branches heavy with golden leaves. The air is crisp and sweet, a gentle reminder that nature offers a beauty that money could never buy.
A neighbor stops by with a basket of fresh apples and a warm smile. This simple gesture of kindness feels more valuable than any of the grand luxuries they once owned in their lost mansion.
As the afternoon wanes, they sit together on the porch, watching the clouds drift lazily across the horizon. The silence is no longer empty. It is full of the contentment of a life finally simplified. They spend the evening reading by the soft light of a single lamp. The walls are humble and patched, but the atmosphere is rich with the shared stories and laughter that define a true home. A walk to the nearby stream reveals clear water dancing over smooth gray stones. They find joy in the rhythmic sound, finding a deep sense of belonging in the natural landscape that surrounds them. As another day draws to a close, they realize that while they lost a house, they found their souls. The 5 years of saving led them here, to a richness beyond any bank account. They walk together through a golden field at dusk, the heavy burden of the past 5 years finally lifted from their shoulders. The house is gone, but the path ahead feels lighter than ever.
Sitting on a worn blanket, they share a simple meal under the stars. There are no marble countertops here, but the laughter shared over crusty bread is sweeter than any luxury they once chased.
Looking at an old photograph of the grand house they once dreamed of, they feel no sting of regret. It was a beautiful dream, but their current reality is far more precious and meaningful. In the small garden of their modest rental, they plant a single sapling together. It represents a new kind of growth, one that isn't measured by square footage, but by patience, care, and love. They spend the evening reading by a soft lamp, surrounded by books and memories. The silence is no longer heavy with stress, but filled with the quiet, restorative contentment of being truly at home. Holding hands as they watch the moon rise, they reflect on the struggle. The 5 years of saving weren't wasted. They were the furnace that forged their unbreakable bond and their newfound inner strength. A gentle rain falls against the window pane, but inside they are warm and safe. They have learned that true security is not found in bricks and mortar, but in the hearts of those loved. They looked toward the horizon with clear eyes and peaceful hearts. The future is no longer a desperate race toward a finish line, but a journey to be savored one slow, intentional step at a time. Their life is simpler now, filled with the small joys they once overlooked. A shared cup of tea and a walk in the woods provide a richness that no bank account could ever match. As the final sun sets on this chapter, they stand together, grateful for the loss that led them to themselves. They lost a house, but they finally, truly, and forever found their way home.